Hey everyone, welcome to Watch Complications. I'm Brian. Real quick up top, if you are looking for links at any point in the video for the tweezers I'm talking about, you'll find them in the description below. Keep in mind that the Amazon links are affiliate links, none of the other stuff is, but you'll also find links in there to join my channel as a member, my website, Watch Complications, link to the Watchy website if you want to manage your watch collection digitally on iOS, check that out, and then the timeline to jump around the video. It's been a little bit of a gap, a few weeks since my previous video on the Vario 1945 Dirty Dozen style watch. I was actually traveling. I was in Finland for about 2 weeks, and it was a little bit of work, a little bit of pleasure, but I also got to see my good friend Anssi, who I contribute and help to develop the Watchy series of apps for iOS, managing your watch collection. So it was great to see a good friend. It really is amazing with the world so connected these days, how you can make friends about anywhere. But I'm back from the trip and thought I would do a tool video. It's been a while since I've done one of those. I like sharing what are my favorite tools at the workbench. I've done my magnification set before and different types of screwdrivers, etc. Lots of tool videos actually, now that I think about it. But tweezers are one of the most used things on the bench. I mean, I've got a set in my hand every day. Now this video is not going to be a super in-depth review of one specific set of tweezers. What I really want to do is say, here's what I've found to be the best set that I have and how that sort of compares and contrasts to other tweezers I have and use in my work, and the pros and cons, and just kind of show the difference, particularly if you're getting into watch modding or initially getting into watch work. You can see the prices of things and you can be like, okay, I'm just going to get this set to get by. Yeah, that might be okay in some cases, but depending on what you're doing, what type of work you want to do, how easy you want that work to be, having those pros and cons to make the right choice can be helpful. So I just want to provide some of that insight after having done this for a number of years. And that's what we're going to do. So let's talk tweezers. Before that, if you like this video, whether it's now or some point later, please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't, you want to keep updated with what's going on here at Watch Complications. So yeah, hit the subscribe, hit the like, hit the bell if you want updates. Let's talk tweezers. All right, so simply put, there are going to be tools that you will use every day if you get into watch work. Even if you're just modding or tinkering, you're going to need a good set of screwdrivers. Talked about that before. Don't skip out on a good set of screwdrivers. Get the real deal. It's a little bit more money, but it will last you a lifetime. Then you got magnification sets. Talked about that before. And some other things. Good set of digital calipers, so on and so forth. But one of the other tools that is on the bench all the time, and maybe could be argued the most used, is the mighty set of tweezers. And if you're just getting into watch making, watch modding, and you're like, okay, what set do I get? What are you going to do? You're probably going to go to Amazon. You're going to look at tweezer sets. If you haven't already looked around the house first and found, someone's, tweezer set for the eyelashes and eyebrows and that kind of, picking hairs kind of stuff. You're going to be like, I'm going to find a set of tweezers. And you get on Amazon, let's say, or you Google it, and you're like, set of tweezers. Oh, there's a nice set. It's got 10, 12 tweezers on Amazon for $10. Sounds good. Let's go. That's an okay place to start. I don't want to discourage that. These are, a dime a dozen on Amazon. You can find them. The advantage to these sets of tweezers is they are low cost. You get, again, probably 10, 12 different sets of tweezers with different types of tips, different types of endings on them for different types of activities or work that you might do. Some are a little bit wider, a little bit flatter, some a little bit more pointed, get a hook. Here's probably my most used one, just a regular set of tweezers, straight on the ends. Another one that I use quite a bit has a little bit more of an angled tip to it. And this black coating kind of wears off over time. These are stainless steel. The pro of this set is you're going to get a variety of tweezer types. They get the job done to a large extent most of the time. But let's talk about two of the subtle things to consider with a pair of tweezers. Yeah, for $10, $20, you can have 10, 12 tweezers. Why would I spend $50, $60, $70 on one pair of tweezers? The high-end Swiss brand Bergion, which is what I have. This is my favorite set of tweezers. This is the 7422 PM-AM. Talk about some of those differences here in a sec, but a good pair of brass tweezers. All right, so let's flip the camera around, show these a little bit closer, and talk about these two properties that I speak of that make a huge difference with working with tweezers. All right, so, oh, I guess I didn't show my watch. I've got my Tudor on today. This is the 41mm ceramic. Again, I only wear 3 watches these days. Most of the time it's this one, or my Christopher Ward Bel Canto, or my Casio MRW 200H, black with the blue dial. So we're talking, woo, yeah, there we go. We're talking tweezers. So there's these two things to keep in mind, primary things, at least in my mind, when it comes to the right set of tweezers. You're tempted to buy a set. That's all well and good. Again, they've got these different tips on them. This one I use a lot. It's a little bit more angled, lets you get in to things a little bit of a different angle if needed. We'll just leave these two regular straight tipped sets, I guess we'll say. Now, one thing with any tool is it's a tool, and if it's used the right way, it'll work well for you. If it's used the incorrect way, it won't. Just like a chef's knife in a chef's hand, or a pair of chopsticks in the hand of someone who knows how to really use them to get food between the plate and your mouth. A pair of tweezers, like any tool, will work best when used the right way. And it might be like, well, that's the simplest of tools. Yes, but the way in which you hold the tweezers, again, zoom out a little bit, the way in which you hold them to do particular small scale work is going to make a huge difference. Where you place your fingers, right, in terms of support for the tweezers in doing certain types of movement. So let's say you get on Amazon, you do a search for a tweezer set, you're probably going to see a lot of all caps titles and product info where it says this is anti-slip, anti-magnetic. Don't believe that. When they say anti-slip, they're talking about, well, these are painted on this side with the tips raw, so it gives you a little bit more grip, and that might be true. It does help a little bit, to be honest, like patina does on a pair of brass tweezers. But a lot of times they'll claim that they're anti-magnetic. Stainless steel is magnetic. There are some alloys of stainless that aren't, but that's typically not what you really see. So if it says anti-magnetic, I've yet to find a generic set of tweezers that can't be magnetized. So these have that in the headline as well, but if I get them close to anything magnetic, they'll pick up some of that. And if you go to pick up the smallest of screws or any components related to the watch movement, that's a potential hazard, we'll call it. So these are still great for particular types of watch work, like case screws, dealing with spring bars, picking things up, just the kind of things a little bit more external to the central part of the movement. But make sure you have a demagnetizer around, and make sure that these are demagnetized if they're steel tweezers before you do anything else with them related to a watch movement, particularly if you're removing anything in the keyless works, the motion works, different wheels, the balance assembly, all those things. Hairsprings, don't even get close to it with anything close to being magnetized. And if you find yourself going to pick up a screw and then you try to drop it in a location on the case or the movement or something, it's like it won't come off the tweezers. That's why a lot of the higher end Swiss brands use brass as the material, because brass is an alloy of metal that is non-magnetic, so you don't have to play with that risk at all. This is my favorite set that I have. This is the Bergion 7422 PM-AM, as you can see, and it's just a raw set of brass tweezers. The tips still have a nice sheen to them. As you can see, the main part of the tweezers has gotten a nice patina to it, which brass does. If you want something that doesn't get this patinaed look to it, which actually I think adds a little bit more grip to it as I handle them and do things with it, this particular model, you're not going to find it on Amazon or even some of the other distributors like Ofry or Esslinger in the US. Jules Bohr has them. Star Time Supply, which is where I got these and go through, these were $60 compared to like a $10 or $20 set from Amazon. That's the stainless steel, you know, comes with 10 or 12. It's like, why would I pay $50, $60 for a set of tweezers? Well, one, it's anti-magnetic. It's made of brass. It's high end. There are different forms of this. The 7029, I think, is one of the real popular ones as well. It's got a very fine gold plating on it so that it stays a little bit more shiny, doesn't patina like this raw set of tweezers does. But that's my favorite set. Now, one of the reasons why it's my favorite is, now weight's about the same on these two, to be honest. Maybe I'll put the numbers up here for you. But we've got these two sets that are almost equivalent in weight, but you can see that the curvature is different, right? The spacing between the tips is different. This is the second subtle thing to pay a lot of attention to, and that is tension between the tweezers and how hard it is to press those together. If you're going to be working on a bench a lot and doing this a lot, the pressure that it takes to put the tips together to grab something, move it around, this wears on your hands, your fingers, day after day after day, and that amount of tension can matter a lot. And with how easy it is to pick up a screw, it's like, oh yeah, this is just a regular set of tweezers, I'll pick up a screw. Well, that tension is actually quite significant, how tight you have to hold it together to maintain control of the screw, drop it into the location, release it. Lots of work on the muscles in your fingers and hands. And day after day, hour after hour, that becomes a significant thing, just like the color of this mat and its effect on the eyes. You got to do it for weeks, months, years, and same thing with like a chair. Don't have a bench where the chair is above the bench and you're bending over. Within a few days, your back is going to be yelling at you. If you're going to do watch work, you want to have a bench that's almost at least elbow or chin level, so that you're kind of looking straight ahead, not bending over, looking down, arching your back over. Here's what I'm going to do just to illustrate this. I think probably everybody can about understand how much an AirPod case with AirPods in it, what that feels like in the hand, the amount of weight that is. So if I set this on my stainless steel generic Amazon bought set of tweezers, you can see it barely pushes down on the tweezers at all. There's a lot of tension there. Think of it as a more tense spring and harder to push down. Okay, everyone can relate to that. Now these have magnets in them, obviously, so I'll probably have to demagnetize that. Here are my Bergeon tweezers. You can see that that gap is different. Very, very fine tips. Don't use these to pry. The tips will bend. The stainless steel, less susceptible to bending. So if you want to talk about contrast, pros, cons, the stainless steel is a little bit more sturdy, less likely to bend with pressure, though it will bend with enough because just it's a fine tip. But the brass is going to bend more easily, but this is meant for very fine work, basically dealing with screws and movement parts and placing them on and off of the plates. So here we have the Bergeon. I'll place the AirPods on that, again close to the tip, and you'll see it doesn't quite get there all the way, but it's about as close as you can get without the tips touching. That's the tension, that's the pressure difference. And if you know what an AirPod case feels like, that is a significant difference for how hard you have to press or not press to be able to do work and things that require a little bit of dexterity. The generic type of tweezers takes quite a bit of force to get those together, hold it, move it around, whereas this just feels like a piece of cake. So it's like, why would you pay 50, 60 bucks for a pair of tweezers? It's not magnetic, don't have to worry about that, and really light feel in the hand and easy to support in a variety of configurations for what type of work you need to do, and low tension. It's like a very, very easy spring, you might think of it that way, to press to do your work and move things around and place things. So that's why I would pay more money for such a set of tweezers. I've got this flipped back around. The Bergeon sets come in a variety of colors. They have white, black, green, brass, gold plated, depending on what kind of look you want, or do you want the raw where it has a patina to it? I think gives a little bit more grip. But if you want something that doesn't get darker, or you have to worry about any sort of corrosion or something like that, then maybe you get the gold plated one, etc. There's even a green one that kind of matches the color of their mats. So just to demonstrate kind of the ease and what this feels like, I know you can't sense the tension or the pressure on the tweezers. Hopefully the example I gave helps a little bit, but this is a little bit more difficult to pick up and use. It's just more tension. Doing stuff like this is also just good practice. Okay, we'll get a couple at a time there. Let's spread these out a little bit. All right, here I'm gonna try to pick this up quickly from the tip of the foot. Okay, fine. All right, I'm gonna pick this one up from the base of the foot. Okay, just doing that sort of quick work. I like working underhand most of the time. Just depends on what angle or height that the components are at that I'm working on. The tension on these, you really sense the difference when you switch to a high quality pair of brass ones. By the way, Bergeon isn't the only Swiss brand that makes brass tweezers. You got the Horatex of the world that do the same thing. And you can just make quick work of this stuff. There's just no tension, so it just feels like it goes easier, goes quicker. You're not spending a lot of muscle work to keep those tips close to each other. So boom, boom, boom. Oh, look at that. That quick. All right. I don't know. Maybe that helps. I hope it does. Get a good set of tweezers if you're going to be doing this a lot. You will appreciate it. Your hands will thank you. Just those two properties. What's the material? Is it magnetic or not? And what's the tension like on the set of tweezers? That comes down to the curve, the design. Again, be careful with the tips. Don't bend them and use them to pry. That's what screwdrivers are for. You know what I'd say? Have both. Why not? All right, so I hope the information that I shared in this video will be helpful if you are looking for that right set of tweezers with doing watch modding, watch work. Even if you're new to it or you've been into it for a little bit looking for something new, even jewelry making really applies to that as well. But that's what I think about tweezers, my favorite set, and the things to watch for when you're picking out the right set for you. Again, check out the description below if you want links to those products, my website, and Watchy. If you really enjoyed the video, hit the like, and if you're new, hit the subscribe button, bell if you want updates and notifications when I release new content. All right, on to the next thing. I'm out.